I'm
The only
just gonna record while we're talking in case we
oh,
catch something.
I feel the only thing behind this thing is Christmas decorations. It's not a wall. There's actual like boxes and stuff. But I feel like
Oh,
there's something behind there, and
well, lift it up. What's back there?
I
Let's
had this
see.
strong sensation of
Would
uh,
you get totally freaked out if something was standing back
it
there?
fall over. Um, yeah,
Hmm.
it's not two canvas stands that might fall over.
Mm.
Yeah, no, yeah, I would be totally freaked out because this was, like I said, this is where I was sitting the last time. There was something down here, but they say if you feel like something's watching you, it's because there is.
Yeah,
When I felt like I was watched, that thought popped in my head, and I think that might be why I got the goosebumps. But
yeah.
especially right in here, I felt, yeah, I felt something kind of weird.
I always have that fear when you're doing something like this, right? Because I like obviously we can see each other, but like if you could not see yourself, you were just watching me and you just saw my expression be like, oh, behind you. Like, I'm always so right. I'm always like so freaked out by that. I'm like, what?
You know what? I am going to turn my ring light up a little bit because if we by chance happen to get a second look, I want it to be a little better lit.
Mm-hmm.
I was with my daughter and I recorded our episode when that happened.
Yeah, it
It was
looked
it was a
like a
stand.
misty kind of
Yeah, it came, and what was
swoop.
weird? These are the things that you usually see after the fact. I saw this in front of me in real time. It came out of literally nowhere,
Yeah,
and it just came up, and that's the one you see on the camera. But you don't see is when it reappeared on the desk here, literally as soon as it disappeared, and then it bounced, and the it not bounced in the sense of the word that we use. That's the only way I can describe it. Is it bounced from here to the wall near the window that was near me, and when it bounced, kind of like a teleportation, more like, but bounce makes more sense. But it was the size of a human. It was a misty cloud the size of a human,
mm,
full 5.5 feet, and then it disappeared. It didn't last for more than a few seconds, but it
wow.
it freaked me out. I don't think I was in the basement much longer after that. I think I
You
said
need to
goodbye.
get those like motion like trail cams for like hunters and
Mm-hmm.
put it because they're not that expensive and put a couple up in your basement because like they'll pick up on any like motion
Yeah.
and then like you need to check the SD cards in the morning. But like, could you imagine?
Well, right.
Oh,
I'm sitting not too far. There's a guy died. The original owner of the house died in the house before we bought it. He was
right. I
found,
remember you guys mentioning that.
and my sister passed away, and she was cremated, and I have her ashes not 10 feet above from where
Hmm.
I'm. So, and we were talking about her, and we were talking about the guy who owned the house before. I'm getting those chills again. Um, and part of our conversation was that if you discuss people who have passed away and you talk about them, that you give them, it's like batteries and electronics. You're giving them strength in your
Yeah.
word to appear or to do things. So, and we had talked about that in our conversation. And then my sister was huge on saying goodbye and I love you and stuff. And it was at the end when we were saying goodbye that it appeared, and then it reappeared next to me here, and then it bounced and was big, and then it was just gone.
Wow.
And it wasn't, and it's weird too because it wasn't just a 5 foot thing of smoke. It was the head and the shoulders, and then it kind of faded as it went down, and then it was just gone.
So it had a bit of like the shape of of a human,
Yes,
a person.
yes, head and the
So now
shoulders.
has everyone who lives there, everyone has experienced something or seen something? Like, is this been like a
Yes, it's not just isolated to me. Everyone has experienced something. The dogs
have
experience.
the things you have seen or experienced been similar, or has it been different for everybody?
It's it's been similar. Harley has heard his name a few times when he was in his bedroom. Some talking outside the door. He thought it was myself or Paul or someone else. One time I was in the basement and it was me and Paul and I were down here. Paul and me were down here talking, and he thought it was a ghost again. He came out. He looked sheet white because I was hearing the voices again, but he was relieved. But he has heard actual conversations in the basement when there was no one but him down here. His name, he's heard his name mentioned in conversation or even just called out. And I thought, well, maybe he's got his headphones on, he's playing his game. But about 3 nights ago, I was woke up from a deep sleep, startled awake by somebody yelling my name in my bedroom. It was literally, it was Jason, like that. And you wake up and there's no one there. And it was
Wow.
a man's voice. It was very masculine.
So I
So
mean, do you guys when these things happen and you experience this, like, I mean, what's your initial feeling? Like, are you guys scared? I mean,
there's
and there's a difference between like, okay, sure, you get startled, but then the startling, like that sensation kind of goes away. But like, does anyone feel any sense of like, are they afraid or is it like,
the best way I can describe it is imagine going on a roller coaster ride. You're going up. That's when nothing happens. You're going up this peak, and then you kind of teeter here, and this is the moment where you're questioning: are you seeing? Are you hearing something? And then just before you go down, that's the moment you realize yes, you are, and then you got that belly flop moment where you're like, oh my god, that just happened. That's the best
yeah,
way to describe it. It's like a roller coaster of emotions.
yeah.
But yeah, it's scary, but it's kind of like thrilling because then the first thing you think is, what the hell? That okay, I'm gonna go in the other room for a few minutes and kind of leave the area. But the second thing you thought was, all right, I have some bragging material here. I have some conversational.
So have you guys noticed like any pattern of like, does this stuff happen mostly at night, on certain days, at certain times? Like, have you noticed a pattern of when this activity occurs?
Does
You,
happen.
this should be an episode.
It does. I'm gonna headline my first Scaredy Cat episode, but it does happen mostly at night. It happens mostly when all five of us are home.
Okay.
Maybe when one of us is gone, but the more people that are here, the more activity I feel like there is usually at night.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the most recurring occurrences would be the shadow people. We see shadows moving around
Yes.
eye, and then you look and there's nothing, but it's always in the same.
Hello. Okay. Call, text me, please, when you get there. All right. Love you. Sorry. Go back. What were you saying?
But it's always like things out of the corner of your eye. You'll see someone standing there. It's usually someone very tall, and you'll look and there's no one there, and that happens a lot in the hallway entryway area of the house, and that's also where the dogs will. They'll be fine. They'll be wagging their tails and happy one moment, and the next minute they're looking at something in that corner, barking hysterically, and they can't be calmed. And they're staring at the dark corner where
Well,
there's
they
like,
always say animals can see that and sense that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
It's
But
so
yeah,
fascinating. I want to bring all of my equipment and come to your house and investigate.
you should. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I think you should. This place should be investigated. Um, Courtney, before uh, it, she came over the first time she was over, she said she felt something in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
We came down. She's sensitive to these things, and she described exactly what the man in the house looked like, who was in the basement. She said he hangs out in the basement. So for the first year we lived here, I thought maybe the guy who lived here before us died in the basement. She described his physical appearance to me to a T. After she did, I had a picture of him on my phone. I gave her absolutely no clues as to what he looked like. She described him right down to the shape of his face, his nose, his mustache, his age, his hair color, everything.
Wow.
So I found out that he didn't die in the basement, but he actually avoided the basement. His family said he very rarely went down there, and for the last 2 or 3 years of his life, he never went into the basement. So
Why?
I don't
Just,
know. They didn't say maybe he was. I know his wife passed away, and he was really depressed about that for the remainder of his life. And maybe he just didn't have any business in the basement. Maybe his knees were bad.
do you have a
Maybe
one level home?
the one level home, yeah.
I wonder if it could have been like a physical thing, like it was just too difficult to go up and down stairs, so he just didn't go down there a lot.
But it's a huge basement. The basement's just we have our house is about 1,800 square feet, and the
Mm-hmm.
basement is about as big as the house. So it's a big basement.
You guys could totally like double your living space.
Yeah, we could if we
Yeah.
ever win dollars, I want to build up and
Wow. Very
be
cool.
yard. But yeah, he never came down here. He died in our dining room. They found him a long time after he died. The way they described it was he didn't look good. So he had been dead for quite some time in our dining room, right by the
Oh,
door where we let the dogs out. I think I'm stepping where his last moment was spent, or
so I have a really gross question.
his first moment in death was spent there. What was your question?
Okay, so when bodies decompose, if they're not like embalmed and dealt with, like, as
Thing,
humans, like we release gases and fluids
yes,
and goo
yes.
and, so if you're left for a long time, like you're going to leave.
We have hardwood floors. There
Well,
was
I was like, did anything soak in? Is
no,
there
there was
like,
damage. There was no marks. I know it's funny you brought that up because literally last night when I was letting the dogs out, I
well,
looked down
I mean, that's just
and
what
I saw,
happens to us, right? We
yeah,
decompose it and we get
you break
soft and
down.
liquidy.
Yep, there's
We
the
start
oozing.
oozing.
Yes, a lot of oozing, but there was no damage to the floor. There's no marks. There's no
I was
telltale
watching it was a good documentary. It was actually about this old elderly woman. Well, she pretended to be elderly. She wasn't actually as old as she pretended to be. And she had this like boarding house and was like killing people and, burying them in her yard. I think it's on Netflix or something, but they were talking about the fact that one of her rooms just had like the flooring was like carpet, 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 like so many layers of carpet, but that I think there was like a decomposing body or something that had been left there for quite some time. And they were just talking about the fact that it was just layers of
yeah, oh, ooze.
decomposition that had kind of soaked in. So I'm always like, oh, how long does that take?
That's one of the things I was thinking about too, was even though he had been dead a long time, for one, he died in the winter and he died by the back door. So there might have been some cooling going on.
Some
Probably would
refrigeration.
a little bit. He may have had a rug down with a rubber bottom that was, kind of helpful toward the hardwood floor, not
Yeah.
getting, ooze. But and then when they say
Like a
he would
pee-pee sheet.
hell, I'm thinking if it had only been a few days, there might have been minimal oozing,
Yeah.
minimal breakdown, minimal gas and you know,
Yeah.
smells.
Oh, human bodies are weird. We're just disgusting bags of gas and fluid.
Yeah, we are energy. That's all. It's everything is just energy, and
Right?
it's gonna find a way to energize somewhere when you're dead. It still keeps going, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Well, I'll send this to you. I was hoping to catch something here, but I'll send this to you.
Dead, it still keeps going, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.